Hello and good afternoon to all of you watching. Alright, so today we are starting a new series. We are starting So You Wanna Kerbal. What I plan to do in this series is every Friday a tutorial on various Kerbal things. And Dev John Foss and Demon Strip, hello, welcome. Alright, so every Friday we are going to start and go through a career, but we are really going to be concentrating on the how to do things in Kerbal. I mean, from things such as like today we are going to cover on installing what I call the essential mods. This will be available on YouTube, and I am going to have links to everything on YouTube. After the stream, I'll update the description with all these various things and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is really for a complete beginner who doesn't know anything about Kerbal, doesn't know how to install mods and stuff like that. Yes, it is going to be mods, and that is going to mean it's for a PC. However, a lot of the information being used and what I'm going to show could also help with a with the consoles. I mean, it's the same way of getting into orbit and things like that. So let's get started. Right, let's get started on this. Right, so I am going to stop this. Well, actually, the music's fine at the moment. Right, let's go on to the beginning. And what we are doing is, okay, once you've downloaded in Steam, you end up with, in this particular thing, under your Steam, got your Steam apps, your common, and you've got Kerbal Space Program. Okay, so you've got this. So one of the things when we start dealing with mods is one of the things I kind of typically find safer to do is to actually make a copy of this sort of Kerbal Space Program. Make a copy of this into another folder. Now I've done this already. Okay, you basically just right click, copy, right, then you go onto the new place and right click, paste. And what that does is it makes a complete copy of your Kerbal Space Program. This means that if an update comes out that will break all your mods and stuff like that, it will not affect your current game. This Kerbal is not an online game. I just saw that demon strip. It is not an online game, so you can continue playing an older version as after they've released a newer version, as long as you've got it in a separate folder that is not updated by Steam. If you are running on something like a copy from Good Old Games or from the Kerbal site where it doesn't have automatic updating, this is not an issue. But for those of you running on Steam, this is definitely one of those issues. It happened when they went from, for example, one set of mods, the Real Solar System and Realism Overall and stuff like that, were all working great on the 1.13 branch. As soon as 1.2 came out, all those things broke, including people's save games, mods wouldn't load. It became a real sort of pain to deal with. So by making a copy, you actually isolate yourself from any of those mod issues. Alright, and then once you got into your new folder, you'll see there's a couple of things. Now this is a fully modded version. You'll see there's a folder called Game Data. And in this is where all the mods go. Now as you can see, I am got tons of mods in this already. Okay, but the actual folder will look, there we go. The actual folder should look something like that, where inside the game data is only the squad folder, and squad folder is the squad mods. That's it. So whenever you get any mod, whenever you download, that is correct, Strip. That is correct. So whenever you get a mod, let me see if I can just quickly find a mod over here. I'm doing this in the other screen so that you can't see the Talan's naughty things stuff. Where is it? There you go. Kerbal Space Program. Go. Okay, so these are, for example, some of the mods that I have, downloaded and, I've downloaded off various sites. Now, one of the sites that is really good for mods is, it is called, just bring up my web browser, it is called Spacedock. Spacedock.info. Okay, this is kind of, it's got a lot of different mods, but if you look in the Kerbal Space Program, it's got a ton of the various mods that you can include. So for example, we want Kerbal Engineer. Right, now this is just one of the sites that do it, that do a collection of mods and that. So have we got Kerbal Engineer? No, we've got a lot of different things, but it's not there. Maybe it's okay. So unfortunately, this one doesn't have the Kerbal Engineer, which is really bizarre. But anyway, so the way it's doing is the same. Let's take Chatterer for example, which is a mod that adds Kerbal speaking in the background. And again, you would download it. It goes to the source, and usually you'll find over here release, and you'll download it, and it will save it in. Oops. Where is my downloads games. Yes, I got lots of downloaded stuff. Kerbal. Right, so it downloads it there. So I should have Chatterer in here. Where is Chatterer? There you go, Chatterer. Okay, so I just downloaded that. Now to install it, you would open up the zip, and inside you'll find either something called game data, and you'll find the mod in there. Drag it and unzip it. And that's basically how you install mods. It's that simple. You just drag it and drop it into this game data folder. In fact, this guy even packed his thing kind of in the game data. Often they have like readmes which will tell you, various things that you need to do, how to unzip it and stuff like that. Now that is one way to install mods. It's a manual process. It's painful. Another way to install mods is, let me go on to the tutorial one which I set up, is to get a file called CKAN. So if I type in chat here, I've actually got a link right to it. And we'll head off to it. Now CKAN is the Comprehensive Kerbal Archive, something like that. And what they do is basically they use a method which collects the mods, and keeps them up to date without having to go to any website. And you see it's just an exe that you download. You then take that exe and you pop it in your Kerbal directory. Now I've created a directory, a tutorial, and you pop it in the directory, and then you just double click it and it runs. And now it's collecting all the repositories. It's updating. Okay, so these are all the mods that are available. So instead of searching through a site and that, you've got all the mods here. Now let's go for that one that we had, Chatterer, and there it is. And if you look over here, you click on that, and it takes us to the exact same place. It takes us to the exact same place. You know, with the whole Chatterer source code. So that's the other thing it also does is it's also got the. Let's do this. It's also got that link to the official Kerbal webpage. There you go. Chatterer, and this is the official thing. Now, this webpage, Kerbalspaceprogram.com, is kind of where a lot of people go to get their mods. In fact, it's probably the best place because most people do get their mods and stuff like from here. And you can often find new ones. You can find the latest one. You can ask your questions to the guys that are doing it. So it's kind of, I would say, the #1 place to go checking for mods and to check for mod updates and stuff like that. The #1 place. There, CKAN, the Comprehensive Kerbal Archive Network. So, but for myself, I know a lot of people don't like CKAN because the problem with CKAN is that everything needs to be updated manually. So what that means is the mod dev could release a mod, but it could come out sort of much later. You know, it's they could release a mod, but CKAN could take a couple of days even for it to get into the archive. So that's you know, that's one reason why people don't like it. But if I look in my little tutorial thing here and I look at the game data, as you can see, my thing is completely empty. I did rename this to tutorial, but this one I can actually don't need that anymore because I made one tutorial. And as you can see, I also made one called RSS, which is an older version of Kerbal, but it's got all the RSS mods in there. And the cool thing with CKAN is you can have a separate CKAN in each of these things and it won't update your others. It will only update the folder that it's in, which is kind of one reason why I like it. Okay, so you've got all that done. We aren't going to install any mods yet. Let's just go and run it and see what it's like. But I'm going to remove the settings file as well so that it's completely, you know, sort of brand new and all that. And we are going to run the 64-bit version because with the 64-bit you can use a lot more memory and stuff like that. And there you go. It's going through the load. And it's, you know, running from a SSD. It tends to be fairly fast. But it does, and more worth noting, the more mods you add on, the slower it becomes. Falling off Gilly? Oh no. Ah, there we go. Look at this. Right, so let me stop this now. Alright, so this is the start. Now if you want to send anonymous progress data, you're welcome to. I'm just going to do that. I'm not sending any data to them. Maybe another time. Now, right, you've got your, so this is your Kerbal. Now I can see it's, for me, it's started in windowed mode. Now there's a couple of things that you could do with this. If we look at the settings, we could say go over to the graphics and we want to put it to our screen size, which is 1920 by 180. I don't want full screen because I like doing things in windowed mode. And you can set all these other things. Now, I'm actually going to turn off don't sync, because if it runs in windowed modes, it doesn't really need to do the sync. And there's a lot of other things here. I want full res, for example. And you can play around with this. Terrain scatters, yeah, let's add them in. Okay, so apply, accept. Right, now what are you noticing? We're still in windowed mode over here. We are in windowed mode. It's kind of, it's the right size in that, but it's not, it's not, we want the borderless windowed mode, which it doesn't have off the bat. So what you can do to get around that, actually, now look, the other thing is, look at this. You can see kind of how this is how the original game looks. Very kind of not very basic, not pretty. Right, so let's quit this. Now there's a little trick. Now what you would do is you would go and you would take your little, either your 64-bit or your 32-bit or your 64-bit one. I use the 64-bit. You drag it and you create a shortcut on your desktop. Right. That's shortcut 2, but it's, I already made the shortcut before. Right, so then once you got your shortcut there, right click and you go to the properties. Right, now at the end of the shortcut, you add this little setting, minus pop-up window. Minus pop-up window. And what that does is that turns it into borderless mode. Now the cool thing is, if you look at your Steam one, if you want to run directly from Steam, and you go to the properties of Steam, there's a thing called set launch option, and there it is again, minus pop-up window. So it adds that to the end of the command, minus pop-up window, and that does a great thing. So it's the exact same thing. It's running the KSP tutorial. It's linked to this. It's going to run this, and instead of running from the folder, I'll run from the shortcut. Double click that, and the difference. Full screen, borderless window. And that's how you get that. So, a lot of people don't know how to do this and they hate the borders and stuff like that. There are various reasons for playing borderless full screen. Especially if you dual monitor, you might want some information on your other monitor. If you want to have overlays of things, borderless windows rock for that. And there we go. That's full borderless windowed mode. Full screen borderless windowed mode. Yeah, borderless. I'm sorry you spelled that. Borderless is really, really cool. If anybody has any questions about this, ask now and we can check them out on that. Alright, so we've got that. Now if we start a new game, alright, so we're just going to start the call it test career. Give it quad logo, and we start. Yeah, I'm going to override that. Right, I just did a brief test. Right, now look at this. Okay, he's got all these little things, but we're not interested in that thing. Right, so look how the game looks. You've got the mountains there, you've got that there. Look at that water, for example. If I roll back in the water, I can't go up further. The game looks okay. It doesn't look great. The graphics aren't the greatest in this. No, Crypto. This is the normal time I start. you know, we can build our craft. Kind of. Let's just launch this. And again, you can see what everything looks like. Right, so you can see nothing's... I mean, if you've seen me play before, you've seen kind of things with readouts on the screen, you know. Oh, let me actually remove that. Readouts on the screen and everything else. And now we're not seeing any of that. I mean, the water doesn't look great. Very plain vanilla. This is normal. This is how the default KSP looks. Of course, you know, and this obviously is the best. Yeah, this, if you've got a low power machine and stuff like that, this setting works pretty well. In fact, memory wise of this, let's have a look. It's currently, I mean, I put textures on maximum full res and it's using 2.4 gigabytes of memory. That's it. That's all it's using. You can ask. I might not answer, but you can ask. Alright, so that's kind of, that's how that looks. And again, no readouts, no nothing. Just this. So we are going to do what I call my essential mods. Let's quit. Yeah, leave anyway. So let's go back and exit the game, and let's go back into CKAN and start looking at what mods we can install. And so we start up the CKAN, and we're going to install mods now. Probably. Why wouldn't it? That was a pop-up window. Yeah. Yeah. So if we look over there, there we go. So kind of, this is my full command there. And in the Steam, in the Steam one, you would go onto your game, you would go into Kerbal Space Program in your library, right click, go to properties, and then set launch options. And you just need to put that one. There is another one which is Force Open GL, which you don't really need to now that you've got the 64-bit, but especially with when you could only run the 32-bit version, that was important to be able to run more mods and use less memory. So really now all you need is a pop-up window, and that will give you the borderless windowed. Yeah, but make sure that your Kerbal is not running full screen, that is running windowed mode. And that's what that pop-up window would do. Now the other thing about that pop-up window is, look at this. I'll actually show it. Show you what happens. Let's actually just start this again. So just get this thing started. I mean, this is what this whole stream is about. It's a tutorial to help you, you know, because these are a lot of things that a lot of Kerbal players don't know. They don't know. It's like, and you know, you can go and on the web, you can find a ton of different things, you know, with people saying one thing or other. And that's why I want to actually show this stuff as it's working, so you can actually see it and ask the questions and get the feedback. So if I, for example, put my settings, go to graphics, see I have no full screen on, and I change this to that resolution, 1280 by 800, apply. So look at that. That's that pop-up settings thing. I've got no borders on my window at all, regardless of what size it is. I've got 0 borders. Literally, I can't move the window. Yeah, it's as soon as you go there, you're inside the screen, there, outside. So obviously you want to set this to the size of your monitor. And there it is. So that gives you the borderless window, but so there's a couple of things you want to do. You want to make sure that it's your resolution size. You want to make sure that it's not full screen. You don't need to use VSync because windowed mode uses the VSync of your desktop. So you don't actually need to use it. I mean, some games do it a little bit differently and you might need to use it. And you've got all the other settings. Like, I mean, I've got everything on fantastic and terrain detail. So I put pretty much everything, on huge. So even at the best settings, it doesn't actually look. It doesn't look like you see, when you see all the fluffy clouds and stuff like that. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to head back out and we're going to go back into CKAN. Now I want to show you something. Look at this. Game data. That's empty. So I'm going to keep this over there like that. I mean, if you're finding your screen is flickering, you might need to put on VSync. But I find once I've got it in borderless windowed mode, I never need to use VSync. Right, so we've kind of got this there. Now if you look with CKAN, when you start it actually tells you what game it's dealing with. So that should match your FKSP tutorial there. That should match that. Over there at the top. All right, now if you look over here, you've got, I've got installed 0, upgradable 0, compatible 491 are compatible with this version of KSP. But in total, there are 1,500. So if you look at this, it's got little checkboxes next to those. And it's all there. Yeah, the ones without the checkboxes are usually ones that are not compatible. The 64K one, Max KSP version 105. Now, this is the issue that you've got with a lot of people who have a CKAN, is sometimes these guys have updated and they have got beta builds and stuff like that with the latest versions. All the mods work, even though they say they're not compatible in CKAN, they do still work. You can run older mods on the newer versions with no problem sometimes. Right, so we're just going to look at the compatible ones at the moment. Now, the mods I think are absolutely essential to playing, to getting the best out of Kerbal is number 1, Kerbal Engineer. So if we head to Kerbal Engineer, and there is Kerbal Engineer Redux, and it's over there, Max KSP version 122, and it's got all kind of the stuff over here. So I mean, it's got the stuff across there, and it's got the stuff here. And so you can go to the actual Kerbal forum for it, or you can go get the source code. So you've got many other things. I mean, it does have things like relationships, what it needs, what it contains, the various versions. All these little things are there. And all you do to install it is you click on that checkbox, then you hit apply changes. And what it does is it downloads it and installs it. And there we go. Inside this game data, there is Kerbal Engineer. That's there. So now, when I run my Kerbal, I don't install mods when KSP is running. Right, and because it's got this little program that comes with this, which is an extra check to see if there's anything that's updated. So yes, let's allow this to check for, for updates. And again, we are now just running this again. The more mods you have, the longer your Kerbal is going to take to start. Right, so if we go start again, and let's just resume our test one that we just had. And let's see what the difference is with Kerbal Engineer. Let's go into here. Not seeing anything different. Oh, wait. What's that? Another window popped up, and there's a little thing over there. And now look at this. Pop this guy on there, and all of a sudden, all my delta V and thrust to weight ratio are there. So I can actually, maybe if I compact this smaller, look at that. I can see what my thrust to weight ratio is. I can see how much delta V this has. Wow, that's the information that we want. Now, if I move to the side over here quickly, well, you know what, easier method. Let me just remove my camera quick. Where is my camera? And you can see at the bottom here, it's also got some more information. The vessel, delta V, the resources, things like that. Oh. So that's what Kerbal Engineer adds on. Alright, so it's really, I mean, I struggle to build. You can build stuff without it, but with it, it just makes life so much easier. Because I mean, for example, if I now throw in another one over here, okay, although that's not quite right, with both engines will fire at the same time, it will blow up. But if I do it like right over there, see, that gives us, it doubles the delta V of it. Yeah, more thrust. But as you kind of add things, 1,600, but 11 thrust to weight ratio. So this is going to hit the terminal velocity really, really quickly. But that's kind of what the Kerbal Engineer does. There's a lot of other things you can do with Kerbal Engineer. Is if we go to launch, yeah, clear the launch pad. A lot of other things that you can do with Kerbal Engineer. Now, if you've noticed my streams, I've usually got a whole lot of heads-up displays, stuff like that. So if we click on, okay, this is career mode. So what we've got is we don't have the ability to adjust, to show any mods yet on this to kind of show any of the heads-up and stuff like that, because it's career mode. There is a thing we can do. So it does integrate with career mode to stop you from kind of, you have to build it without, you have to fly it without that. So I mean, for example, there is no displays yet. Okay. So let's revert. See if there's any settings we can change. Okay, it's got no settings we can change. It's I think it's in the text file of it. But we'll look at that. We'll look at that later. We'll look at setting up all the settings of that later, but at the moment we're just looking at getting mods installed. All right, so that's how you install the mod, and what it adds to the game. So if we go and quit this game again, and let's go and add in what I consider more essential mods. So we've got Kerbal Engineer. That's one. We've got Precise Maneuver, which helps you, give you a little better control over your maneuvers. Then another one, which is really good, is Kerbal Alarm Clock. Alarm Clock. Kerbal Alarm Clock. This one, when you do your maneuvers, you can set alarms to actually wake you up and take you to the ship. Now we've got a transfer window planner, which is another one for cross planets, which is, that's one of those really good ones. Okay, so if we look at, move this filter, there we go, we've got those four. And we can do apply. It says, yep, you want those. Now it says, hey, do you want to add extra flags into it? Because, this mod recommends that. Just say, sure, why not? We've just started. We're just going through starting this and all that. And if you look, here's all the stuff. You've got Kerbal Engineer, Precise Maneuver. Now, Trigger Tech. Hey, what happened? From Trigger AU, we've got Alarm Clock, Transfer Window Planner, and the flags, but there's only one directory. Because a lot of the guys who do the same mods, who create mods, multiple mods, they actually have their own folder in there, and so they install their things within their folder, but it's still within the game data directory. And there we go, we've got that. Now if you look in some of the mods, you might find some things like, for example, the settings, presets, sometimes they're little config files, little things that you can adjust. Mostly you'd never need to do that. But with some things like the texture replacer and stuff like that, they want you to drop the textures within particular mods. So that will do it. So now if we start this up again, and you notice I haven't had to close that because I'm not installing mods. It just, it's not doing anything. It's just an installer. And you'll see what it's just doing the same sort of thing. Yep, again, as you add mods, it can increase the time. And there we go, look at this. We're going to resume our test. And let's see what the difference is now that we've added in all these extra mods. Well, there's two buttons over there, two new buttons over there. Alarm clock, that pops up. Transfer window planner, that pops up. Transfer window planner we won't use for a while, so don't worry about that. But again, it's one of those really useful things to have. Alarm clock is something that, again, we'll use later once we start doing multiple missions and things. Alright, so look at that difference. You're starting to add the mods in there. Okay. And again, if you go in here, you've got your, start doing that, you've got Kerbal Engineer, pops up. But now what you could do, under settings in Kerbal Engineer, so remember how it wasn't visible outside, it was only visible in the building. What you can do under settings, I'm saying the combat mode turn to the right, so there. Oh, be on the left. Oh, it's weird. Why is it not doing that? Oh wait, I have to actually save it. So you've got different things. Kerbal Engineer overlay. visible. You've got all these little things you can set key bindings and stuff like that. Now, one thing which we can do, Flight Engineer activation mode, we can turn off career and keep it on partless. So in other words, you don't need to install the sort of engineer parts. And I usually run like that because otherwise every ship, where is my science? Every ship you would need to install one of these or access onto Kerbal Engineer. And it just becomes one of those extra parts that you add to the build, which is kind of painful. So I just normally click that to partless, meaning that we don't actually need a part to activate the engineer. Right, so if we launch this now, it is the educational show. Alright, so now look at that. Now we can actually see the Kerbal Engineer. Now what it's got as well is, you notice, because Kerbal Engineer is running, we've got now 2 heads-up displays. Right, so I'm going to take that off. We've got 2 heads-up displays because now we've set it as partless. And you can see as we start this guy up, it tells us information like how high the upper aperture height. That is how high the ship is going to go. So it's only on 4 kilometers now, but it reckons it's going to get to about 20 kilometers. Okay, air resistance, so it's constantly adjusting. And it's going to be 40 seconds before it gets to that height. So now, and then it's got things like altitude of the terrain, which is slightly different to this altitude. This is sea level altitude. The terrain altitude is different as well. So you've got all these kind of instruments there, and that's what Kerbal Engineer gets you. Now, as you can see, if I click on this, there's a lot of different things. Like for example, say we show the engineer. If we want to show heat, this gives us all the heat temperature, all the orbit information. That off. Again, you can disable those HUDs if you don't like them. Surface details, vessel details, rendezvous details. So it's kind of all there. So usually what I do is I set up my HUDs, and what I'm going to do is I'll do that with you as we, once we start getting into this. But still the game looks ugly. So let's go back out. And let's look at making the game look a little bit prettier. Now, I normally use Eve and Scatterer and things like that. But a lot of people are suggesting to use something called Stock Visual Enhancement. Let's look at Stock, which packages all those other things together. There we go. Stock. Type in Stock. Stock Visual Enhancement. I am going to take high res. I have the memory and stuff. And it tells us, yeah, what do you want to use? The Scatterer Sun Flare or the Stock Visual Enhancement Sun Flare? I want that one. You? And now it's going to, so now it's added that to it. It's added any mods that's needed. And we can hit apply. And there you go. These are all the things it's going to install now. Right, and it says these are the recommended: planet shine and texture replacement, which is more enhancers. So let's do that. Now it's going to take time. AD technology. It's going to take time for these things to download and stuff like that. But that works. And remember, you can always add mods later. The thing is, if you use part mod, you cannot. If you remove those mods that contain those extra parts, that could cause issues with ships loading and stuff like that. Adding mods, not a problem. Removing mods can be a bit of an issue. Right, so there we go. We've done that, and as you can see, we did that and looked at. Now you've got environment visual enhancements in there. You've got planet shine in there, you've got scatterer in there, got stock visual enhancements in there, got texture replace in there. So it's added in quite a few. But, well, let me actually, I can always pull that up. All right, so let's see what happens, what the game looks like now. And this is, so we really just going, yeah, I just picked the high res or low res, and it then suggested other mods. It suggested other things to include, and that's kind of what I did. Okay, so it's now doing the reload again. So we can do that again if you want. Okay, and look at that. Right, so I don't want to show this. I mean, again, this is for Scatterer if you want to add in a whole lot of extra things, which we don't need. So I am going to hide it. And all of a sudden, look at that. Look at the background. The sort of Kerbal has now got clouds. Right, so let's resume the test one. Yeah, so again, it depends on the type of machine. So we'll go back and we'll look at that. All right, so let's look at this. All right, look how different it looks. You've got the clouds over there. Things are faded. Look at that sea. So let's launch this ship. Yeah, we'll go back and just have a look at that over there. And right, so let's launch that. I mean, and look at the difference. Look how, yeah, I'm going to the cloud cover. It's starting to head into the clouds. And look at this. We're just reaching the top of the cloud cover. Again, it just makes the game look so much prettier. And at night, the lights come out all over the place. So let's show you. Doing physics warp. I want to see the. Oh, I haven't got any parachutes on this. But you'll see what the water looks like now. Okay, so look at that water. Yeah, he's going down. But look how that water looks as well. So again, it doesn't change. All it does is it changes the look of the game. It's things on the distance and stuff like that. I mean, there are some glitches with it. Sometimes you'll see like little black spots, on the textures and stuff like that. But other than that, it just makes the game look better, in my opinion. And it makes it, and when the game looks better, it's like the eye candy. It just makes it easier on the eyes. Yeah, so if we go, okay, so let's okay, so let's look at the CKAN again. We're starting this up. Right, you see now it's looking at all the repositories to see if there are any updates. And this is what's cool about this. If there are any updates, this button will go and you say click on that, add available updates, and we'll only update those mods that have changed. Right, so Stock Visual Enhancer. I'm just putting Stock Visual. There you go. So the only one I picked was, I picked this high-res one. Now it's because I've got the memory. You know, so the memory and my machine power can handle it. If you want to keep memory down, or your machine can't handle the visual things, try one of the lower res things. And then once I picked that, it said, okay, do you want to use the for scatter, do you want to use the Stock Visual Enhancements scatter things, or do you want to use the Sunflare? In fact, what is terrain visual pack using components? Okay, you see, I haven't even used that because I haven't really bothered with the terrain one. Okay, so this is again another one, and you can play around with it. For example, let's have a look here. Say, for example, we have here, and we decide we do not want Kerbal Engineer. So I'll go into Kerbal Engineer, and I unclick it and apply the changes. And it says you're going to remove it. Why? If we look at Kerbal Engineer, the settings remained. So you might need to do a clean, but the actual main thing has been removed. So it's no longer there. In fact, we could just delete it right out there. Well, sometimes you need to do some cleanup. Here's one that we haven't changed. Okay, so now we're going to add it back in. And there it is. Now, it does take time to download, so some of the bigger mods can take quite a bit of time. And what you'll find is there's a CKAN folder over there that keeps kind of all the downloads, stuff like that. I mean, if you want to completely reset everything, all you do is you delete everything over here except for the squad thing, and delete this whole CKAN directory, and that will reset your CKAN and your game sort of completely, mod wise. That's it. All right, so we've got all that installed. I mean, there are definitely things like the X Science, which is really good. There's a lot of other things, but again, they're not essential for the basic game. The ones that I've given you, which are, if we just look at the installed ones, which are the where is it? Okay, Kerbal Engineer, Precise Maneuver, there, the Kerbal Alarm Clock, there, and Transfer Window Planner is later when you go to other planets. Those are kind of the ones I would deem as essential. And you see, this is why I use CKAN, because it is much easier to install and uninstall mods. Again, you could do all this manually, and in fact, you could have a mix of manual and CKAN. Oh, I agree. The mods enhance the game, but it's not kind of essential. It definitely something that is worth it. I mean, it's I'll put that definitely as a recommended mod, but it's not kind of what I deem as an essential mod to play the game. So if I do that, do it by install. I mean, there's a lot of mods here, and you know what? This is the cool thing is, make yourself a copy of your folder and start testing things out. Try this mod, try that mod, see how it works, see what works for you. There's a lot of these contract packs as well, especially if you're doing career, that really enhance the missions and stuff like that. I mean, I get really bored with their current contract system. This Contract Windows Plus is another one that just makes the contract windows look a lot better and a lot easier to read. Your save games. Okay, so in your same as your KSP folder, you'll see there's a thing called saves. So you open it up, and inside you've got scenarios and training, and this is kind of the KSP ones. But there's the one that I just made called test, and inside test it's got a persistent file, which is kind of the persistent game. So if you do F5 to save, yeah, it will be there as a quick save. And as you know, all hard saves will be in there. And you've got all your ships that you designed are in the space plane hangar. Actually, that's the kind of the vehicle assembly building. There's my autosave stuff in there. So that's all there. So again, you know, if you kind of want to back up your saves, that's kind of the saves folder is the one to do it. Screenshots. Another one, you've got sort of, you've got ships, global ships and that. And I mean, at the worst case scenario, if you want to completely reset and you do this on your Steam one, just delete it and re-download it. You know, maybe make a copy of your save outside and delete it and re-download it. Yes, that is correct. So you see how these are all as craft things. Now, if we look at what these actually look like, I'm going to say this Osprey one. So there you go. See, look at this. This is what it actually looks like. It's kind of like an XML thing. I can't do. Let's hit this. No, it's more of a JSON. It's kind of, you know, okay, that kind of works. So, see, it's different parts. And in fact, even the persistent file looks like this as well. So everything is text. Everything is text. So you can, so a lot of people will go in here and they'll, you know, if something's broken and they want to just fix it, they know enough to go in here and mess with it this way. In fact, there are even some programs that will do it for them. If you look at the saves, the persistent save, see, that's the game. Rear. So if you decide you want to change your logo, it's there. Environment info, you know, the presets, kind of the whole thing there. I really suggest you avoid messing with these because there's very little reason to mess with them. So don't do it. Now, what Remarkable just brought out with the sort of sharing your craft, there is a site called Kerbal X. And this is Kerbal X. And what this is say, for example, you want to, yeah, let's see. Okay, so you want a new craft. You're not sure how to make a craft. You wouldn't look and say, oh, I want that rover. I want to make a rover like that. So you click on it, and it tells you all about it. It's made in the spaceplane hangar, rover, part count 37 parts, 2 mods. So it requires 2 mods. It requires the BD Armory and Squad stock mod. So you've already got that. But we don't have BD Armory. We go into CKAN and we look for BD Armory. Okay, and there it is. There is no BD Armory. If we look at all, and there is BD Armory. So BD Armory is a 1.1. So you can't install it with CKAN. So you might have to go and manually install that one to see if maybe it will work with 1.2, maybe it won't. You know, that's kind of, but it's not kind of official 1.22. You know, which CKAN doesn't do. Now, CKAN isn't the authority on mods and stuff like that. So, like I said, it is a community type effort of some people that do to try keep the mods in track and try a lot of manual effort into it. But again, it's not the authority on what mods. If we go to, for example, even if you find it over here, and we go to the GitHub of it, and we have a look, 12 releases. The last update was, the last release, official release, was April 24th, 2016. Which is kind of the one that they've got there. Whether this works, we don't know. So we can actually look at what the thread in the forum says about it. And you'll, again, you see into your game data folder, and you'll find in the thread people will sort of ask all the questions and stuff like that. So the thread is probably the best place to get more information about each of those mods. And if you look kind of on the last page, I mean 302 pages, and people are kind of asking if it's the army is not imported to 1.12. Okay, so we're 1.22. So it's kind of like it's far behind. So you might want to avoid that mod unless until they support 1.22, or maybe the 1.1 actually does work. Again, it's dicey whether it's going to work with 1.22. So let's pick a different one then, one that is more compatible with 1.2. In fact, what you could do is over here, there's a little thing, 1.22. And you can see what craft are available with 1.22. $921 craft available. I don't know why that one's still. But there you go, yes one. Yeah, this one requires 4 different mods. These are the mods that it requires in order to get this one in. But what it does is, when you say that download the craft, it downloads a .craft file. See that over there? And that file, you would then take that .craft file and you would, in your save game that you want to use it, you would throw it into, whether this is a spaceplane hangar one, you would throw it into your spaceplane hangar. These are the global ones, or you could throw it into the global one. And the global one's available to everybody. The one in your save file is only available to your particular save one. And that's how you would install the extra craft. All right, but let's go back to the actual game. So let's start setting up the mods. Now, another little trick you can do with CKAN is she has got this launch KSP thing. So what you can do with this is where is that? Okay, that's just a normal launch in that folder. But one thing you've noticed, because I deleted that, is it hasn't got that pop-up window thing. So there's a way to set that. I'm not 100% sure why it's not doing it. But as you can see, this has got the windowed mode because it didn't do the pop-up thing. Where is it? I think it's on CKAN settings. Nope, not that one. Oh, KSP command line. There you go. You see, that's kind of the command line that they've used. They must use a different thing. So for that, I could also say pop-up window. And now it would launch. Now I could click launch and would launch it, with the pop-up window function. But in the meantime, we're not going to do it. So you can use CKAN for that. So in other words, you can use CKAN as kind of your starting thing. And that way it will check your mods every single time you start. And I think we finished with that. So let's go into the game. And let's start setting some of the things up. And what we're going to do is we are going to start a completely new game. Oh no, he's stuck in space. And again, any questions? You're not sure how something works in that? Ask away. Let me know. All right, so there we go. We've got it. So we've got our really basic things. So let's start a game. Let's start a new game. And we're going to call this the tutorial. Now you've got a choice between a sandbox, which kind of allows you to, it opens everything up and you can do whatever you want. You don't have science, you don't have money. There's no limits. Every part is unlocked. I'm doing good, Remarkable. And then you've got this science game, which you don't need to worry about money. You just need to worry about gathering science to unlock parts in your career. This was the original career. It was where all it was about gathering science. Then you have the career mode. This is kind of the full mode where you've got to balance your science with your money, and Kerbal lives matter, because Kerbals cost money. So you've got to do all that. Alright, so we're going to do career mode. Flag. We're going to have, let's take, let's try take the Capsule Corp. No, but in career mode they really matter because they cost money. Alright, so that's we set our flag. Now there is a way to actually load up your own flags and stuff like that by putting them in this folder, but we're not gonna cover that. If you're interested in that, you could just do a Google search on how to do your own flags, because it has to be specific sizes and stuff like that. Now, actually, what you've got here is you've also got difficulty option. And this is the one where you would, set how difficult it is. Alright, so normally, no. There's no, you can if you want to. For example, what you could do with the difficulty options, like the normal difficulty options, say, for example, you say, I want to start gathering science quicker, gathering, I want to be where I want my funding to be kind of get less funds, but but I want my science to be gathered quicker. So you could change things like that, where your science reward penalties and stuff like that. I mean, if you look at Easy's got no com networks, 120 resource abundance. Yes, I'm going to cover that one as well. Resource abundance, and all these things, and then you go on to hard, where you can't revert flights.